So first, guys, I just want to say thank you for coming on here and giving me the opportunity to tell my story a little bit. I think it's something that uh, is not only relevant to all athletes, but college athletes in particular, football athletes. Um, one thing that I know everyone's going to be curious about is kind of the timeline, how everything happened. And so, real quick, I'll give you guys that. So we got back to campus for workouts. I came back in the middle of June, worked out for a couple weeks. Everything was going good. Um,
Hey,
July.
Mikele, I don't mean to interrupt you, man, but there's a couple guys that are typing, and your mics are not muted and it's picking up on the record. You guys just all mute, please. Sorry, brother.
You good? Yeah. So I tested positive July 28th, and I started out really didn't feel bad. I just kind of had a little tickle in my throat, and I knew I had been around some people outside of the program that I wasn't normally around. So I texted our trainer, Bob Murphy, and he told me to come in and I could test. And as long as everything was good, I was cleared to return to workouts the next day. Um, so I found out that night I tested positive the same day, and I immediately kind of decided I was going to go home because we were working out. It wasn't really practice. I joined our position meetings over Zoom. Was in those, but I was at home for about 2 weeks. So I come back about I would say middle of August. I get my two negative tests, so I was cleared to rejoin the team, and I get a text from our head trainer Bob Murphy, and he says, hey, there's some growing concern about these heart issues that could arise from people who not only have had COVID but had symptoms. So he had me get an EKG, an echocardiogram, and then I had some blood work done. And so I did that, and then I got a call that night from Bob saying that, hey, they found something abnormal. We're going to go see the cardiologist tomorrow. So I go see the cardiologist, and he essentially told me that he can't tell me if it's myocarditis or pericarditis just from the echo. I'm going to get an MRI later to try and clear up what exactly is going on. But essentially, my heart is just not running as efficiently as it should. So, it could be a couple of different things. We talked about, myocarditis, which is inflammation on the inside of the heart, pericarditis, which is kind of on the outside. The truth is we just don't 100% know what it is yet. But I will be getting an MRI later this week to kind of clear some of those things up. So that's kind of how I got to this point. And if you guys have any questions, I'll take those now.
And I appreciate you doing this, man. Just real quick, are they 100% sure that this condition is COVID related? Or could this be a prior condition that you just happen to test at this period of your life?
No, I've had an echocardiogram before that came back completely normal, and I've never had any heart issues or anything like that before.
What are your concerns that this is not just a temporary thing, that this could be, a long-term thing that affects your life?
The cardiologist, when I talked to him, he didn't really seem concerned it was a long-term thing. It's more of he explained it as kind of a reactionary thing. This happened because I just got sick. It can happen with a couple different types of infections. So, he thinks it's going to be a relatively short-term issue that should be able to be resolved.
Did they tell you? Oh, go ahead.
What was it like, especially in these times and all the different things you've heard about other people, maybe or cases, to be someone who heard that you'd been impacted in this way that had to kind of stop you in your tracks?
Yeah, it was definitely kind of shocking for sure, just because, I heard this was a possibility. I knew it wasn't a super common thing that had been happening with young people, but the more I looked into it, the more I was like, okay, this is something that could happen with a couple different types of virus. It just it just kind of happened to be me in this situation. And it's funny, I didn't realize that I was one of the first to really say that I had it because of COVID. I thought, this was a known thing that could be caused from COVID. And when I announced, I really didn't expect it to blow up like it did, I guess.
Hey, Mikele, so you got back on campus, you get the 2 negative tests, and you were kind of good to go to resume before the trainer said, we need to do these tests on your heart. Did they give you an idea of like what could have happened if they didn't say that? Like if you went back to practice sprints, exerting yourself with that condition, I mean, could that have been bad?
Yes, it could have been. That's with the way mine was. My case was a more on the mild side. Um, with extreme cases, yes, it could have been very dangerous. The cardiologist's main concerns were long-term abnormal rhythm kind of stuff that could lead to issues long down the road. But as far as like heart attacks, stuff like that, my condition isn't that severe.
Kaylee, what's your advice and message to other athletes in the college ranks right now that are preparing for college football season about COVID and just, I guess, taking this pandemic seriously?
Yeah, that was kind of why I wanted to talk about this today. Is a lot of people have heard, yeah, this can happen. This is a possibility, but to put a face with a story, it makes it more real. Especially me being a 19-year-old athlete, a healthier person. I'm not someone that's had a pre-existing condition or anything like that. So, just so everyone realizes, you're not immune from this. This can happen to you too. That was a big reason for me wanting to do this today.
Obviously, one of the side effects of this is you're not going to be able to play football this year, but have there been some other side effects for you? I mean, what are you dealing with in your daily life right now with this heart condition?
Nothing really abnormal as far as, just recovering from COVID. Like, I have a little bit of chest tightness, but other than that, I don't have any other real symptoms from it. I'm starting some light medication. Even in the last couple of days, it's gotten better. So, that was kind of the whole scary thing is if I'm at home working out, I would have never known. It was because I was here in the football facility doing these tests. That's how they found it.
And then whenever they initially told you that you're not going to be able to play football this year, what was that like for you?
It was, like I said, I was one of those people that was kind of, I may get COVID, but the long-term stuff's not going to happen to me. That can happen to me. So I was a little bit stunned, really, when it hit me as far as, I guess, sadness is, today I watched our team practice, and that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, man, I'm really going to miss this when games start coming around. But I was really just kind of shocked and wanting to learn more and just really curious or about why it happened, how it happened, that kind of deal.
Hey, just to clear up, were the only COVID symptoms you had the scratchy throat, or did it get worse for you, like some of the stories you've heard?
So it did get worse. I also have asthma, so the breathing it was that part of it was worse for me. My other symptoms, nothing out of the ordinary for like a cold. I had a headache, I had some congestion, but that lasted maybe a week at the most.
You talk to Coach Elliott, say, hey, I want to be an honorary offensive coordinator this year. And I guess what's your role for the 2020 season? You going to be with Coach Glenn and kind of calling out plays?
Yeah, so I've talked to both of them, and we communicated a lot. When I was seeing the cardiologist and when I had COVID, but I'm just gonna be there, try to do the best I can, do the most I can for the team. Not really sure what that looks like. Today was my first time really getting out there, but I think over the next couple of weeks we'll kind of figure out what I can do to help.
What is your rehab plan now? Is it a certain number of weeks before you can get on a treadmill? Are you able to do any kind of light jogging and such?
Right. So right now I'm at absolutely nothing. We talked about, I'm going to see the cardiologist in a few weeks. So, I've been on the medicine. If things look better, I'll start, some walking, some yoga, stuff like that. As far as like intense workouts, it'll be 2 to 3 months minimum.
And you can't even throw a football to somebody on the side, or are you able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can stationary, if I'm just standing there, I can toss a football, but nothing that would correlate to training or anything like that.
Not to make this political, but I just wondered, now that you've been through this, when you see where we are with people not wearing masks or just wanting to all go gung ho play football, what are your thoughts?
I think where I'm at, as an athlete, I'm safer than I would be at home. Because if I was at home, all these athletes, they're not going to quit training when they go home. When when you send all these athletes home, they're going to continue to work out. They're going to continue to throw and do all these, hard workouts and stuff like that. So, the fact that I could do that here and get my, tests, not just the COVID test, but the hard stuff done here, that's the main reason why they caught this. And if I were to be at home, I would have never known.
Mikele, obviously you're talking with us today because you want to get the message out about being safe and doing all the right things. But have you had teammates that have come up to you and maybe asked you some questions, or maybe they're a little bit more concerned now?
Yeah, absolutely. And, what I would say to those people is the reason why I got COVID in the first place was me, being selfish and seeing people outside of the football facility without a mask, and I wasn't doing my part. Now, now obviously I learned the lesson the hard way, but I don't want anybody else to go through this and have to do that. So, they're like, do you feel safe here? I'm like, the whole reason I was diagnosed with this was because I was here. So, we've had a bunch of those conversations over the last couple of weeks.
Per what you just said a little bit ago about how, for one, the cardiologist says he doesn't believe it's a long-term impacting, which leads, I think, all of us to believe that hopefully it's not all that serious. And then you also mentioned the safety of being there with the facilities that you have, and that. Has the cardiologist given you the impression that had it gone undiagnosed, it might have gone away even with normal activity? Did you get that far down the road in that conversation?
We didn't, but from what I've read, it's, the excruciating activities. A lot of people have this and just never know because they don't really push their heart like, a lot of these athletes do. The risk for me was because I was an athlete and because I do push my heart and my body as hard as, any Division I college football player would. That's where the risk comes in. So as far as, it have gone undetected, as a normal person, that would probably be what happened.
And Mikele, I'm just wondering, obviously you've never dealt with anything like this before, but as an athlete, have you ever had any injuries in the past or things that have caused you to miss a lot of time?
Yeah, so I had a shoulder surgery on my throwing shoulder my freshman year of high school that kept me out for a long time. My first real game back where I was cleared to throw and do everything and play was like the upper state championship game of the playoffs. So it was almost a 10, 11 month thing that kept me out. So I've dealt with relative. I say long term, and in the grand scheme of things, 10, 11 months isn't a long time, but this is going to be another kind of similar situation like that.
You feel like you kind of take some of the things that applied or that you learned, I guess mentally, because obviously being hurt is hard, just mentally. Do you feel like you can take some of the things you learned from that experience and apply them to this?
Absolutely. It's funny, I was talking to my mom about that the other day. Just, it feels really similar. It's my freshman year here. It's my freshman year of high school. Going to be out for the season again. Definitely learned a lot, but then I was 15 years old. Now I'm 19, and I see the world a little bit different. I kind of understand this is an immediate thing, not a long-term thing. So definitely some things to be learned there.
With that having been said, and you were asked what your role would be this year, more than one person has told me you would have probably competed for the starting job. Is there a fear of falling behind? Some of that going through your mind and that kind of thing?
Obviously you want to be there, you want to compete, but my focus is on winning games this year, and whichever one of us three would have given our team the opportunity to win the most games would have been the person that I was supported, and that was my thought process from the very beginning. Obviously, I'm a competitor. I want to compete. It hurts me that I can't compete, but all I can do now is move forward and try and get myself ready for next season, and that's what my plan is.
It's very telling what you said, where basically you admitted, I stepped out of the bubble. Does that make it harder for you to process all this? Like, in a way, you can't play this year because of one moment of, just not doing the right thing for just one small time, because it's got to be very difficult to process the whole thing.
Absolutely, and that really hit me hard after I was diagnosed with a heart condition. Just knowing that I put my teammates, my coaches, our training staff at risk because I decided I wanted to go see people I wanted to see, and that it bothered me for a little bit. And I talked to some people that I saw immediately when I got back, and I apologized to them. And I think that we're all kind of learning that this thing is a lot more serious than we initially thought. And I'm ready to move forward now.
Can you clarify just a little bit some of the conversations that you had with your doctors? I know they're obviously learning as they go because this is new for everybody, but for the future of you playing football, have they give you kind of any indication whether or not it'll be safe next season?
Yeah, and they totally anticipate it to be safe for me to play, and I have all the faith in them. They think that this is a 3 to 6, maybe a little longer month issue, but it shouldn't be something that affects me, year, 2 years out.
Just for clarity, you got the upcoming visit to the cardiologist. What is the anticipation that'll be determined at that time?
Really just, if there's anything more I can do to kind of speed up the recovery. I already started taking some medication on the lighter side just to try and, start the recovery process. But it's really just a matter of time as far as just letting my heart and all the inflammation kind of calm down. Because, it came as a result of me being sick, not necessarily, anything else. It's just I was sick and my body was trying to recover, and it strained my heart, and it needs to recover. So
Mikele, how much had you heard about the potential cardiac implications of COVID before your diagnosis? I mean, it sounded like you had heard a little bit along the margins maybe about it.
My mom is a nurse practitioner, so we had been talking about COVID and how that would impact football players for a long time. But really the first thing big that I heard about the heart issues was when the Big Ten canceled. I learned that it was the information they had learned about the heart conditions that can come as a result of COVID. That's the first time that it really got on my radar. And obviously, I looked up a little bit of some stuff because that was about the time that I had tested positive. I had it, but I didn't have any real concern that it would impact me.
Have any of the medical folks tied the asthma into this? Did you say you currently have asthma and have been dealing with it?
Yeah, I've had asthma ever since I was a kid. I use an inhaler, take some asthma medication, stuff like that. But I've been doing that for years, and that was my main concern. Is a lot of training staffs, if I'm recovering from COVID and I say, hey, my chest still feels a little tight, I've tested negative 2 weeks ago, a lot of answers would be, hey, you have asthma. It's going to be a tough recovery. But the fact that our training staff referred me to the doctors was a big part of why I wanted to share my story, and why I think that other training staffs and other college football programs need to learn about it.
But they haven't made the connection that, in other words, sure, you had COVID, had you not had asthma, maybe your heart would not have been impacted? Did they ever get that clarity for you?
No, we never had that conversation really. From my understanding, the only way my asthma affected my whole COVID experience was just the difficulty to breathe was a little more pronounced, I guess.
Any other questions?
Thanks for doing this, man. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you all taking listen to me talk a little bit, and thank you.